Richard Sterling had clawed his way to the top in New York City. Empire built, penthouse views, power that made City Hall sweat. Wife, Sarah, brilliant, loyal, been there since ramen noodle days. Daughter, Lily, sunshine in a designer dress. Life, picture perfect, yet a dull ache started, a flatness. Sarah, the rock, the partner, now just predictable. Conversations, house, Lily, the same polished routine. He was drifting, a ghost in his own gilded cage. Then Chloe arrived, Lily's new nanny, 20s, blonde, a breath of fresh air in their sterile Upper East Side apartment. Chloe was everything Sarah wasn't anymore, or maybe never had been. Spontaneous, luminous. Sarah was steel, Chloe was sunlight. Always energy, always joy, even at dawn. Laughter that bounced off the walls, games with Lily that filled the apartment with life he hadn't realized was missing. Richard felt it first watching her in Central Park. Lily shrieked with laughter as Chloe chased her. Sarah was on a call, probably about renovations, the endless, pointless renovations. Chloe's laughter, bright and free, cut through the city noise. Why did Sarah's laughter sound like a business meeting now? He started seeing Sarah differently. Her movements, precise, almost robotic. Obsessed with control, with the perfect facade. It used to be reassuring, now it just grated. Her power suits, tailored and sharp, compared to Chloe's ripped jeans and breezy tops. Chloe's effortless cool, Sarah's calculated chic. The contrast was a constant, unsettling hum. One night, whiskey in hand, staring at the city lights, Richard felt the weight of his routine. Sarah was upstairs, nightly chapter of some historical biography. Chloe, downstairs, had been dancing with Lily earlier, shorts and a tank top, movements fluid, alive. Sarah's composure was a fortress. Chloe was wildfire. He knew, deep down, Sarah was the right woman, the woman he'd built this life with. But right felt suffocating. Compared to Chloe, Sarah felt like a faded photograph. He found Chloe and Lily in the building's rooftop garden, stars barely visible through the city glow. Chloe weaving tales, Lily giggling. Sarah, of course, already asleep. He moved closer, drawn by Lily's delight, by Chloe's easy charm. Chloe looked up, smiled. A smile that wasn't polite, wasn't nanny appropriate. A smile of something shared, something brewing. "She's amazing with kids," Richard said, too casually, sitting on the edge of the garden bench. "Lily's amazing," Chloe corrected, eyes locking with his, a spark in the dim light. "She's got this energy, you know, catches you off guard." Richard smiled, heart hammering. He should go back inside. Sarah, bed. But he stayed. Minutes stretched into an hour, light conversation, yet charged with unspoken things. He felt lighter than he had in months. Later, back in his sterile bedroom, the city a cold grid outside, excitement and guilt warred within him. Excitement for something unnamed, guilt for what he knew was coming. Days blurred into weeks. Richard manufactured reasons to be near Chloe, pointless questions, offers of help, lingering in doorways while she played with Lily. Sarah, immersed in her world of charity galas and interior designers, seemed blind to the shift. The chasm between her and Richard widened with every stolen glance at Chloe. He looked at Sarah with a detached curiosity. Where was the fire? Had Sarah changed, or had he just become restless? Chloe's smile was a constant sunbeam, her laughter infectious, her energy a jolt to his system. Sarah, beside her, seemed almost transparent. Too controlled, Richard thought. Always managing, always perfecting, oblivious to the storm inside him. But he wasn't just discontent with his marriage. Something deeper craved chaos, danger, a thrill. Chloe was that promise. Something new, untamed, maybe destructive. Had he ever really known Sarah? In the beginning, it had been electric. Partners, equals, building their empire brick by brutal brick. Sarah, the ideal wife, fueling his ambition, now just rigid. Every gesture, every word, measured, predictable, a loop of routine. Chloe, pure impulse. Carefree in a way that was intoxicating, seductive. A gust of fresh air in his air-conditioned life. He noticed the small things. The way Chloe tossed her hair when Lily said something funny. Her clothes, always casual, always hinting at the body beneath, a constant low-level distraction he couldn't ignore. He told himself it was a phase, midlife crisis. Chloe was barely legal, he was 40. Still, her youth, her vibrancy was magnetic. Every glance, every accidental touch amplified the contrast with Sarah. Sarah in her designer dresses, posture perfect, always composed. Chloe, limitless, untamed, something he hadn't known he craved until now. One afternoon, Richard arrived home early. Laughter spilled from upstairs, Lily and Chloe. He climbed the stairs, unannounced, curious. Lily's bedroom door was ajar. Chloe lay on the floor, Lily sprawled on her chest, both howling with laughter. Chloe was a monster, playfully growling, Lily wrestling her. Pure joy. Richard stood in the doorway watching. Not Lily. Chloe. The way she moved, the sheer lightness of her laughter, skin glowing in the soft light. Chloe saw him, smiled, didn't move, Lily still clinging to her. Home early, Chloe said, casual, no hint of awkwardness. Needed a break, Richard replied, eyes fixed on her. Looks like fun. Chaos, Chloe laughed. She's more work than a dozen kids. Something in her gaze, direct, confident, almost knowing. A subtle challenge. She knew her effect on him. Richard felt a chill, like playing with fire. Chloe, the missing spark, the promise of something more. Dinner that night was a strained performance. Sarah, across the table, focused on Lily, on the logistics of the day, oblivious. Or pretending to be. She cut her food into perfect squares, efficient, controlled. Sarah launched into kitchen renovation plans. Richard tuned out, bored, restless. Chloe's great with Lily, isn't she? Richard blurted, changing the subject, the silence suddenly unbearable. Sarah blinked, surprised. Yes, she is. Lily adores her. Natural, Richard said too quickly. Good with kids, keeps things light. Sarah smiled, a polite automatic smile. Important. Lily needs that. Richard nodded, mind elsewhere. Chloe, not just a nanny. Chloe, outside this apartment, outside his carefully constructed life. Laughter, spontaneity, freedom. He looked at Sarah, guilt twisting his gut. A golden cage, beautiful, comfortable, but empty. Weeks turned into a month. Excuses to be home, excuses to be near Chloe. For Lily, he told himself. One evening, Sarah was upstairs, orchestrating their social calendar. Richard found Chloe in the living room, flipping through a magazine, Lily asleep. Quiet in the apartment now, too quiet. Rough day? Richard asked, sitting a safe distance away, close enough to smell her perfume, something light, floral, nothing like Sarah's expensive, musky scents. Just Lily being Lily, Chloe smiled, closing the magazine, placing it on the coffee table. You really do a great job with her. Place feels lighter since you arrived. Chloe looked at him, eyes bright, and for a beat, silence hung in the air. I like it here, Chloe said softly. You have an amazing family. Don't know about that, Richard laughed, a nervous edge in his voice, gaze locked on hers. Sometimes feels off, out of sync. Out of sync? Chloe leaned forward, a subtle invitation. Richard hesitated, too close to the line, but in that moment, the line blurred, disappeared. Sometimes, Richard murmured, I think things could be different, more exciting, freer. Chloe watched him intently. Tension crackled between them. Maybe, Chloe whispered, life's about finding what really makes you happy. Silence again, thick with unspoken meaning. Something shifted. An invisible wall crumbled. Richard knew, with a certainty that chilled him, nothing would ever be the same. Chloe consumed him. Every day, the tension tightened. Moments once innocent, now charged. Electric. He was on the precipice, hurtling towards something irreversible, pulled by a force beyond control. Desire for Chloe eclipsed everything, amplified the gnawing dissatisfaction with Sarah. Saturday night, Sarah upstairs, lost in her book. Richard drifted down to the living room. Chloe, tidying Lily's toys, movements graceful, unconscious. He approached her. Casual smile plastered on his face, heart hammering against his ribs. Chloe turned, eyes bright, as if expecting him. Never tired? Richard asked, voice low, trying to sound relaxed. Chloe's smile was teasing. Part of the job, she replied, folding a blanket, placing it on the sofa. Lily keeps me moving. Richard stepped closer, her scent intoxicating. Testing limits, he knew. Who keeps you moving? He asked, voice dropping lower. Silence stretched, taut. Chloe met his gaze, holding it unblinking. No innocent game now. Something dangerous, something he didn't know if he could stop. Chloe's eyes held his. Maybe, she breathed, you can tell me. A shiver ran down Richard's spine. He was about to speak, to cross the point of no return. Then Sarah's voice echoed from the hallway. Richard, have you seen my book? Distant, yet it shattered the spell. Richard recoiled, guilt and frustration a bitter taste in his mouth. I'll look, he called, trying to sound normal. Chloe turned back to him, eyes still sparkling, a silent challenge. Richard fled upstairs, heart racing, Sarah's voice pulling him back to reality. Desperate escape. Bedroom. Sarah, in bed, reading glasses perched on her nose, relaxed, oblivious. How could she not see? How could she not feel the chasm? To her, everything was still in place. Same as always. Nightstand, Richard said, grabbing the book, handing it to her, forcing a smile. Thanks, Sarah replied, smiling back, a distant automatic smile. You okay? You seem restless lately. Richard hesitated. Truth, confession, escape. He shook his head, shrugged. Just work, stress. Sarah sighed, closing the book, turning to him. You know you can talk to me, right? We haven't been connected lately. But if something's wrong... Richard looked at her, guilt a physical weight, vague nod. It's okay, Sarah, just tired. She smiled, reached out, touched his hand. Her touch, distant, cold. No spark. His mind drifted, Chloe's image flashing unbidden. Her smile, her carefree energy, the way she made his heart race. Days after, the living room moment replayed in his mind. Line crossed, invisible but real. Pulled back at the last second, yet the desire burned hotter. He sought more moments with Chloe, knew something inevitable was hurtling towards them. One afternoon, Sarah suggested a weekend away. Just us three, get out of the city, reconnect, think it would be good, hopeful tone. Richard barely registered her words. Chloe consumed his thoughts. Weekend with Sarah and Lily, Chloe absent, suffocating. Maybe later, Richard mumbled, dragging out the words. Swamped at work right now. Sarah's face fell, disappointment clear, but she nodded. Of course. Understand, just thought it might help. Richard saw it then, Sarah's desperate attempt to salvage their marriage. But he was too far gone, emotionally detached. Sarah, a responsibility, a reminder of a past he wanted to bury. Chloe, the future, unknown, exhilarating, the promise of something more. Quiet afternoon, everything fractured. Richard in his office, feigning work. Sarah out, errands, managing their perfect life. Chloe with Lily in Central Park, laughter echoing through the apartment, even muffled by distance. Richard couldn't focus. Something pushed him out of the office, towards Chloe, downstairs to the park. Chloe on a bench, Lily running in circles, bright red ball. Chloe smiled when she saw him. That smile, always full of unspoken promises. Lily's got endless energy today, Chloe said casually as he approached. Richard didn't reply immediately, kneeling beside her, watching Lily, but mind elsewhere. Sun warm on his face, Chloe's presence warmer, closer. Ever think, Richard began, words unplanned, uncertain, about different? Chloe turned to him, eyebrows raised. Different? Richard faltered, how to articulate the chaos inside him. How life could be if it wasn't this, more free, more exciting. Chloe watched him, silent, considering. Understanding hung in the air, a thin, trembling thread about to snap. Maybe, Chloe said, voice soft, provocative. You should find out. Richard knew then. Marriage over. Choice made, unspoken but real. Desire for Chloe no longer something to ignore, to disguise. What remained of Sarah was just waiting to crumble. Richard stood, slowly, eyes locked on Chloe. Maybe, he murmured, words heavy with a dark certainty. Maybe I should. Betraying Sarah was easier than he'd imagined. Fascination became impulse. Impulse became inevitable. Weeks of tension, stolen moments, furtive touches. Relationship with Chloe crossed the line. Love, not yet spoken, perhaps a lie even to himself. But desire, undeniable, overwhelming. First time alone, Lily at a playdate, Sarah at a charity luncheon. Apartment suddenly different, air thick with unspoken things. Richard knew. Approached Chloe in the living room, charged atmosphere. Eyes met, no words needed, explanation unnecessary. Richard kissed her. Release. Frustration of months, weight of a joyless marriage vanished in that touch. Certainty in that moment. Life finally shifting, finally changing for the better. Days that followed. Intoxicating mix of desire, secrets, lies, clandestine honeymoon. Stolen moments, forbidden touches, heightened everything. Richard worked less, crafted elaborate excuses for Sarah, last-minute meetings, late nights at the office, afternoons with Chloe, park trips with Lily transformed into stolen hours just for them. Sarah's absences exploited. Chloe always waiting, conspiratorial smile, knowing their game was spiraling. Richard let himself fall. Life with Chloe, stark contrast to Sarah. No demands, no renovations, no tedious dinner parties, spontaneity. Chloe made him laugh, a forgotten sound. She'd given back a part of himself he thought was lost. One afternoon, tangled on the sofa after another secret meeting, Richard turned to Chloe, arm around her, smiling, almost disbelieving his own words. "You make me feel young again." "Good," Chloe replied, playing with his shirt collar. "You deserve to be happy." Richard watched her, euphoria washing over him. Finally doing something for himself. Not Sarah, not Lily. Him. Relationship with Chloe, life as it should be. Free, unburdened, no routine. But it wasn't simple. Beneath the exhilaration, something gnawed, away from Chloe, Sarah's gaze. Unknowing, yet increasingly perceptive. Emotional distance, a growing gulf. Sarah tried subtly to bridge it, desperate attempts to reconnect. One night, dinner, Sarah's voice, almost casual. "Feels like we're drifting, Richard. You're somewhere else." Richard froze, fork suspended midair. Didn't expect direct confrontation. Looked at her, composure crumbling. "Nothing, Sarah. Just work, worries." Sarah wasn't convinced. "I know you, Richard. It's not just work." Sadness in her tone, watching him, trying to decipher where it all went wrong. Richard sighed, grasping for reassurance, anything but the truth. "Maybe need time. Think. Things are confused." Sarah lowered her gaze, shoulders slumping. "Just want you to be happy, Richard. If there's something we can fix, tell me. I'll try." Sincerity in her words, unexpected, sharp. Guilt he'd been suppressing, surged back, brutal. But Chloe, still a fire in his mind. Freedom tasted, unbearable to relinquish. Weeks passed. Richard spent lavishly on Chloe. Gifts, jewelry, clothes, each new bauble a satisfied smile from Chloe. Victorious, Richard felt, investing not just in her, but in himself. Buying happiness, a new life. Discreet dates, hidden restaurants, booked hotel rooms, each meeting, thrill, risk, adrenaline. Dinner, hidden downtown restaurant. Chloe laughed at Richard's nervousness, glancing around worried eyes. "Relax," Chloe smiled, hand covering his on the table. "No one's watching." "You don't know my life." Richard laughed, nervously. "Have to be careful." Chloe shrugged. "You worry too much, Richard. I like the thrill." But Richard was tense, always tense. Relationship with Chloe, exhilarating yet turning his life into a battlefield. Freedom and guilt locked in a brutal dance. Each return home to Sarah, guilt a fresh wound. But he deserved happiness, he told himself, even at Sarah's expense. Time shifted. Chloe changed. Fairy tale, exciting escape, now showing cracks. Demanding. More gifts, pricier dinners, more time. Pressure building. New prison, different bars, but stifling nonetheless. Ignoring the feeling, Chloe's demands grew. Attention, money, relentless. "Paris," Chloe suggested, admiring a diamond necklace, a recent gift. "We should go to Paris." "Paris?" Richard frowned. "Bit much right now." Chloe smiled. Carefree, but a glint in her eyes Richard couldn't place. "Why not? You can. Want to experience everything with you, Richard." Forced smile. Unease settled in. Traded routine for something demanding more than he was prepared to give. Something shifting. Fairy tale fading. Morning sun. Richard home early, hoping for quiet time with Chloe. Sarah out, errands, maintaining the facade. Chloe in the living room, luxury catalogs scattered around, frustrated expression. "Richard, we need to talk." Didn't look up from the pages. Richard paused, tension in the air, unfamiliar, unsettling. "About what?" Chloe tossed the catalog aside, finally looked at him. "We've been together a while. Want to know where this is going?" Richard frowned, sat on the sofa beside her. "Where this is going? You know what I mean," Chloe said, direct, serious. "Can't keep this limbo forever." Richard hadn't expected this. Avoided future talk, lived moment to moment, carefree, reality slamming into him, shifted uncomfortably. "Chloe, I don't know if now's the time for drastic decisions." Chloe interrupted, voice firm, controlled. "When will it be the right time? You said you wanted different, exciting, but you're not doing anything to make it real. Feels like we're stuck." Richard silent, pressure mounting. Knew Chloe was right, but what she wanted, trading one life for another, destroying Sarah, Lily, not simple, or so he told himself. Chloe watched him, frustration palpable. "Not asking for much, Richard. Just want to know where I fit. Honestly, starting to wonder if you're really willing to put me first. Richard opened his mouth, but before words came, front door clicked open. Sarah. Chloe's expression flickered, back to carefree. Richard's stomach twisted. Sarah entered, shopping bags, smiling at him, oblivious to the tension. Hi, honey. Home early? Break from the office. Richard forced a smile. Quick glance at Chloe, already up, leaving room, silent exit. Sarah approached, kissed his cheek, then off to unpack groceries. Richard on the sofa, world's weight crushing him. Almost wished for routine again. Forget Chloe, back to Sarah, never knowing the lies he lived. Days, no easier. Chloe, relentless, subtle pressure, constant. More of Richard, more time, more commitment. Richard realizing the impossible. Couldn't give Chloe everything without obliterating his life. Evening, discreet restaurant. Chloe raised the subject again, playing with a gold ring, twirling it absently. Can't keep this up forever, Richard, right? Richard sighed, exhaustion. I know, Chloe, but realistic, not simple. Chloe laughed, humorless. Realistic? I'm being realistic, Richard. Want something concrete. Want to know I'm important. Feels like I'm just part of your life. Pressure building, suffocating. You are important, Chloe, more than you know. But I have a life. Lily. Lily? Chloe repeated, Lily's name an excuse, a barrier. Always Lily. Always Sarah. What about us? No answer. Realized what Chloe wanted. Beyond dinners, hotels. A life with him. Decision that would shatter everything. Was Chloe escape or another kind of prison? Doubt crept in. Days passed. Small things, Chloe's actions, previously ignored, now magnified. More interested in gifts, trips, than shared moments. Initial spark fading. Was she really in love, or just in love with what he offered? Car ride, returning from dinner, Chloe casually, Paris? Thought more about Paris? Richard, exhausted, shook his head. Chloe, we talked about this. Not time for trips. Trying to control things. Chloe rolled her eyes. Always an excuse. Irritation flared. Responsibilities, Chloe. Not simple. Of course it is. Chloe scoffed, disdainful. You just complicate everything. Frustration boiled over. First time, wondering if he'd made a catastrophic mistake. Stable life traded for a relationship feeling more like a burden than freedom. That night, in bed with Sarah, staring at the ceiling, mind racing, doubt growing. Maybe Chloe wasn't the answer. Trading prisons, another mistake? Web. Entangled. Trying to break free, tightening the knots. Chloe, dominant presence. Exciting adventure now felt like a trap. Knew how to draw him in, Richard, aware yet unable to resist. Afternoon, home office, Chloe appeared serious, agitated, controlled tension. Planned words, discomfort rising. Richard, future talk. Chloe crossed her arms, desk side. Richard looked up, papers blurring, weight of her words. Knew what was coming. Chloe, don't know if now's best. Now's perfect. Dragging this out. Can't keep going like this, Richard. Want a life with you. Concrete decisions. Stomach churning. Knew she was partly right, but drastic decision. Suffocating. Lily. Sarah. Separation. Consequences beyond Chloe's grasp. Understand, Chloe, Richard said, trying to stay calm. But not as simple as you think. Chloe leaned closer, gaze fixed, intense. Not simple because you don't want it to be. Still tied to a life, meaningless. I've made my choice, Richard, waiting for yours. Richard leaned back, chair creaking. Weight of her words. Inevitable conversation, yet unprepared for consequences. Leaving Sarah, new life with Chloe. Something hesitated, something doubt. Monumental mistake. Need time, Richard said, voice low, appeasing. Time. Chloe laughed. No humor. Stalling, Richard. Not stupid. What do you really want? Stuck in this marriage forever? Keeping me a secret? Not a life. Cornered. Chloe growing impatient. Something in her behavior bothered him. Growing aggressiveness, urgency, unsettling. Was Chloe truly in love? Or after something more? Something he refused to admit. Tension escalated. Chloe demanded more, not just emotions, finances. Each meeting, new requests, new car, jewelry, luxury trips. Richard, initially indulgent, now uneasy. Growing greed, night, expensive restaurant. Chloe, new demand. Richard, investment. Together. Secure our future. Investment? Richard frowned, surprised. Yes. Chloe, casually swirling wine. Property, my name, something big, luxurious. When you finally leave Sarah, we'll have our home. Discomfort settled, heavy. Property in Chloe's name, secret romance, now risky financial commitment. Never considered this. Chloe, I don't know. Seems hasty. Chloe leaned back, arms crossed. Stalling, aren't you? Same excuses, tired of waiting. Frustration in Chloe's voice, something else, suspicious. Pressuring more than usual, property request seemed more about money than him. Was their relationship always this, or was he blinded? Days. Chloe, relentless about investment. Luxury houses, insistent he signed documents, transfer money to joint account. He relented, signed papers. Each conversation, unease grew. Wanted to trust Chloe, but pressure suffocating. Afternoon, decided to investigate. Office, lawyer, reviewed Chloe's documents. Panic. Lawyer frowned, analyzing papers. Richard, very risky. Sign this. You're basically transferring your house to her name. Richard swallowed hard. Sure? What do you think you're doing? Complicated situation. If things don't go as planned. Left office, head spinning, Chloe manipulating him. House. Large portion of his fortune. Wanted to believe she was practical, building future, but evidence clear. Dangerous game. Control slipping. Night, bed with Sarah, staring at ceiling. Weight of choices. Anger, frustration. How had he let this happen? Destroy everything. Marriage, family, fortune. For something falling apart. Turned to Sarah, sleeping soundly. Wave of guilt. Intense, had to close eyes, hold back emotion. What had he done? About to lose everything. First time, wondered if Chloe truly loved him. Or from start, interested in what he offered. Doubt became fear. Morning, heavy feeling, couldn't ignore. Distrust towards Chloe growing. Justifying actions, deep down, terribly wrong. Documents, lawyer, Chloe's pressure, risky decisions, deeper feeling, never really knew her. Phone rang, message from Chloe. Need to talk. Hotel at 5 p.m., urgent. Urgent? Panic rising, something dark, unavoidable. Hotel meeting decisive. Day, tried to work, mind distant. Doubts, suppositions. Time crawled. 5 p.m. Car, hotel, heart hammering. Nervousness, not normal. Something about to break. Silent lobby, room number, door opened. Chloe. Beautiful, carefree, but smile different. No warmth, calculated calm. Control. He, pawn in her game. Hi, Richard said, anxiety barely concealed. Hi, Chloe replied, walking towards him, sitting on bed. Richard, chair nearby, expecting what? Urgent? Richard asked, composure fraying. Chloe, deep breath, preparing. Richard, tired of waiting, answer. What are you going to do about us? Heart racing, pressure, ultimatum, push to the edge. Chloe, already said need more time. Eyes narrowed. Something shifted. Look no longer frustration, but coldness. Time? Chloe laughed, hollow, lifeless. Think you can stall forever? Not stalling, Richard, anger rising, demanding more than I can give. Daughter, life, not simple. Chloe crossed arms, eyes hard. Grace, Sarah, always. What am I, Richard? Temporary fling? Feels like it. Silent beat, grasping for words. No, Chloe, of course not. Chloe stood abruptly, purse from bed, thick envelope. Threw envelope on table. Wanted to give you chance to be honest, Richard. Never going to choose me. Richard looked at envelope confused. What's this? Open it. See for yourself. Chloe, arms crossed, waiting. Trembling hands, Richard opened envelope, papers inside. Scanned lines of text. Heart sank. Bank statements, transfers, large sums, accounts unknown, documents, signature authorizing property sales, fund transfers, devastating. Papers proving Chloe, man named David, withdrew large portion of his fortune. Richard stared, stunned. What? What is this? How? Chloe smiled, cruel, without warmth. Didn't think I was with you for love, Richard. Oh, honey. Smart, but so easy to manipulate. David and I planned everything. You were means to an end. Words, punches to the gut. Everything clicked. Pressures, gifts, trips, documents signed blindly, deceived, all along. David? Who's David? Man I'm really with. Now we're leaving. With everything you generously gave us. World spinning. Stood, documents clutched, speechless. You stole everything. Used me. Chloe looked at him. No remorse. Too easy. Desperate for escape from your mediocre life, didn't even notice. Smile, empty promises, you fell. Now nothing left. Paralyzed, mind racing, processing. Lost everything. Fortune, reputation, dignity. Woman he left his life for. Running off with another man. Taking everything. How could you do this? Voice a whisper. Naive. Chloe picked up bag, smiled again, no compassion. Should have paid more attention, Richard. Too late now. Turned, walked out. Richard alone in hotel room, bitter realization of betrayal, life as he knew it over. Minutes, hotel room, processing. Thoughts racing, returning to painful reality, brutally deceived. Chloe, woman he sacrificed everything for, betrayed, stole dignity, fortune, heart pounding, despair growing, envelope, documents, bank statements, each page crueler than last. Everything built, money, properties, stocks now gone. David, Chloe's accomplice, never met, controlled his wealth. Richard sat, bed's edge, hands over face, containing avalanche of emotions. Blind. He, calculating, planned everything, manipulated by a woman, now stranger. Shame consumed him. Traded everything, wife, daughter, stable life, for illusion. Remembered Sarah's attempts to reconnect, sincere efforts to save marriage, while he chased Chloe's empty promises. Now, everything shattered. Nothing left. Phone vibrated, pocket, Emily's messages. Richard, where are you? Need to talk. Something wrong? Please answer. Stared at screen, couldn't respond. What to say? Face Sarah now? Destroyed their marriage for nothing. Chloe gone, taking money, trust, ability to believe anything. Left hotel, drove home, endless journey. Each mile, pit and stomach deepen. Mansion. Parked, couldn't get out. Stared at front door. Face Sarah, powerless. Entered house, silence unbearable. Emily, living room, hands clasped, distant gaze. Heard door, looked up, relief, then face change, noticed Richard's state. Pale, older. Richard, Emily began, soft, concerned. What's going on? Couldn't look at her. Destroyed. Shadow of himself. I did something terrible, Emily. Frowned, closer. What do you mean? Scaring me. Met her gaze, regret-filled eyes. Mistake. Betrayed you, Emily. Lost everything. Shock on Emily's face. Stepped back, struck physically. What are you saying, Richard? How? Lose everything. Deep breath, tears burning, never felt vulnerable. Traded you, another woman, nanny, Chloe, now, gone, all money, deceived me, fool. Emily silent, absorbing confession. Disbelief to hurt, then rage Richard never seen. Destroyed our family. For her? Voice low, pain like a knife. So sorry, Richard whispered, words insignificant. Emily shook head, tears filling eyes. Betrayed everything we built. Illusion. Turned away, unable to look at him. Crushing guilt, no going back. Choices made, consequences faced. News of Jonathan Sterling's bankruptcy wildfire. Fortune vanished, fraudulent transactions. Friends, colleagues, press, answers. How? One of NYC's titans fallen so fast? Jonathan, no strength to care what others thought. Company, losses unsustainable, collapsed. Investor confidence evaporated. Desperate attempts to salvage, too late. Chloe's scam, precise, devastating, vanished. David, too, leaving ruins. Doors closing, one by one. Emily, deeply hurt. Stability for Lily. Marriage over. Trust, irreparably broken. Night, wandering empty mansion, stopped before mirror. Didn't recognize himself. Where was Richard Sterling, Destiny's architect? The man who believed he could have it all. Money, power, any woman? Replaced by someone who couldn't meet his own gaze. Grace, daughter neglected while chasing Chloe. Explained to her one day why life shattered. Face her, knowing he'd thrown away everything that mattered. Collapsed, living room floor. Crushing weight of choices, greed, ego, downfall. Chloe, catalyst. Fall began long before her. Moment he believed he could have everything without considering loss. Woke, deep emptiness, daze, unreal. Wandered silent house, emptier than ever. Silence deafening, broken by thoughts, unrelenting hammer, reminding him. Emily left days ago, confession. Couldn't live with betrayal. No arguments, no scenes. Pact, Lily too, gone. Jonathan didn't blame her, barely face her packing. Disappointment in her eyes, worse than any anger. Grace, too young, innocently asked why leaving. Overheard, guilt crushed him. Emily answered calmly, lovingly, hiding pain. Child soon feel father's absence. Lost woman who supported him years, daughter loved, neglected, entangled in self-made chaos. Ignored Emily's attempts to revive marriage. Time away, lost in Chloe's illusion. All cruel punishment. Bankruptcy swift, brutal. Richard Sterling won success, power, tarnished forever. Company collapsed, lost investor trust, respect earned. Press, scandal, moral lesson, greed, insatiable desire. Jonathan, little dignity left, escaping public eye impossible. Once powerful magnate, example of what not to do. Avoided leaving house when he did, reproachful, curious gazes. Everyone wanted to know how. How someone with everything, now nothing. Letters, lawyers, creditors, associates, old friends, answers, financial compensation. Nothing left to offer. Drained by Chloe, what remained? Fraction of debts. Solitude, days drinking, silence, recalling moments leading here. How blind? Chloe manipulated. Insecurities, vanity. But he allowed it. Wanted to be deceived, wanted to escape, life built, start over, someone who, now clear, never loved him. Mornings, weeks after Chloe's final blow, thought about calling Emily. Phone, several times, button hovered, never pressed call. What to say? Forgiveness for unforgivable. Even if she forgave, no going back. Relationship dead, he killed it. Sifted memories, sense in chaos. Early Chloe conversations, smiles, flirtations drawn in. How carefree, young, felt around her. Illusion, now ridiculous, tragic. Used him, he allowed it. Worse, used himself, deceived himself, avoiding painful truths about life, shortcomings. Months passed, unrecognizable. Confident, successful man gone. Someone barely left house, lived with regret. House, symbol of success, now prison, memories of destruction. Unexpected visit, Emily. Doorway, brief hope, redemption. Expression different, no hate, anger, just resigned sadness. Need to talk. Grace, she said, no preamble. Noted, letting her in. Couch, years ago, future conversations. Now, no future. Emily talked. Best for Grace, weekends, normalcy for child. Agreed to everything. Futile to argue. Conversation ended. Emily stood. Leave. Richard, voice low, hesitant, finally asked. Question on mind since arrival. Do you forgive me? Paused. Back to him. Long moment. Silence. Finally spoke. Voice calm, firm. Don't know if I can ever forgive what you did, but Grace needs father. I'll do what's best for her. Nodded. Weight of her words. Emily left. No backward glance. Chapter closed, definitively. Richard spent days in silence, far from spotlight. Lost fortune, family, future, once controlled. Now, vague attempt to move forward, life never same. Chloe, David, never heard from again. Vanished. Taking millions, life Jonathan sacrificed. She won. He, tragically, only one to blame for allowing it.